Peace.
Peace.
This is the Ask Your Old Head podcast with Justice Raji. I'm here with Bertony Faustin.
Yes, sir.
How you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, brother. I'm doing well. Yeah.
All right. We are at Abbey Creek Winery.
Correct.
In the store.
Right. This is the winery and the tasting room as well.
Oh, so this is where you do the process.
Everything happens here, sir.
Oh, word.
Yeah.
I was like, the bottle, the barrels are here. Oh man, we'll talk more about that.
Yeah.
So let's just get started. I always like to start the show with just giving you a moment to give reverence, respect, love to just whomever you feel you'd like to shout out right now. So please do.
My most recent shout out, and probably all of my shout outs, goes out to my pops. You know, he passed in 2007, but he taught me so much while saying so little.
Right.
You know, and basically that just means he was a doer. You know, he was a doer. We never had conversations, and you know, hindsight. Unfortunately, it took 46 years to, you know, to pay attention to everything that I was being, you know, taught or learned. But it always goes out to Pop. So,
thank you. So, you know, first question I always start with: what's a value or principle, standard that you hold yourself to, that you feel is an important part of how you operate in the world?
Again, I've had so many changes most recently, but the main thing is owning who you are. It's essentially that simple. A lot of us, you know, you use the words keeping it real and et cetera. I don't think that really delves down deep to the truly accepting, you know, who you are, what you do without any consequence, and living with that. Not saying that I'm perfect by any means, but I accept what happens in my life, you know, and that's kind of makes my life easy, actually, you know, because once you find that point where, you know what, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is what I stand for, it actually translates to every part of your life, man. So that's been my main thing, is kind of just, you know, owning who I am, you know, and my principles and passions, et cetera.
All right, peace. So, coming to that understanding, did you have any like particular moments or stories, something, you know, specific that happened that got you closer to understanding that, or is that just developed over time? How did you get there?
I've always attempted to develop it over time, but my specific moment was 2007. That's when my father passed, you know, and it was that. I always say tragedy evokes change, you know, and that forces us to, you know, to look at our lives differently. And, you know, it's up to us whether that change is going to be good change or bad change, you know, because tragedy happens and some people go, you know, sideways. Yeah. But that kind of forced me to, you know, what are you really doing? You know, we always, I think we kid ourselves the most, you know, as into, you know, what we're doing, how we're doing it. But I kind of sat down and really, you know, got inside myself, within myself, to see, you know, what am I trying to do? Right. Happiness, et cetera, family, you know, work. And that's been since 2007, that's kind of when it started. I really got some clarity in 2015, you know, with all of these other projects that we're doing. But, yeah.
Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you. So, second question. Relationships, broadly defined, is there something that you understand now that you are doing better than you did when you were a younger man?
Relationships are the number one thing you need to cherish, work with, good, bad, and different. To me, relationships are all about managing them and cultivating them. We all know a lot of people, but how many of those relationships are you cultivating to the point where you leverage them to, you know, and it sounds like you're being, you know, underhandly or, you know, grimy, but it's not. Example is, I mean, early on when I started in this industry, in the wine industry, you know, being an owner, doing things my way, I was at a point where I was like, you know, F them. You know, it don't matter. This is me. I'm doing me. But what I wasn't paying attention to is those FUs, what relationships were I letting go as well? So now I can still say F you. However, I've already thought about, okay, what is this FU going to cost me? You know, in the sense of the broader picture. And it's not necessarily about money. It's about, you know, will this relationship connect me to something bigger and better? If we're truly, kind of my mission is truly out here to inspire and empower others to do bigger and better things, you have to have those relationships. And there may be a relationship that's going to get me to that point. And so again, bigger picture wise, to me, relationships are the key, the foundation. I mean, that's why you and I are here this morning, doing this, from a relationship.
Yes, sir.
And then this is going to take off in XYZ and go the next direction. So,
Indeed. I think, I would just to echo, what I hear there too is just the, when you learn that there's an effect to ending, starting who you choose to be around you.
Beautiful definition, yes, sir.
Like that there's a cost there, and that we should respect that cost.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's all like, can you afford this? Whichever one. Can you afford starting this relationship or ending one or putting one in limbo? All of these things, and again, that goes back to family. The relationships with your wife, your loved one, your kids, learning how to manage and cultivate those things, And I mean, again, it's so simple when it finally clicks. And then when you actually see yourself doing these things in this practice, like I said, for me, it changed my life, understanding the importance of how to handle relationships. So,
all right, thank you. So, third question. So, Justin, what's really, just really important for you right now in your life? What's a big thing that you're either working on or thinking about? Like, where is that land for you right now?
First and foremost, this question, so many people always ask, people to introduce themselves or who are they? And the first thing they talk about is what they do. So importance to me, first and foremost, is my family. My kids are 11 and 9. Trying to find that balance. It's amazing how imbalanced we can be when we're on the outside, changing things, making a difference, shaking up the world. But at home, they're not getting the balance of having you there, present, and not just there. So that's been the most important thing for me to realize and to try to balance, taking care of that home life as well. They need me just as much as the public does, to inspire and empower. So that's my biggest, thing that I'm working on. But then also, career-wise, we've got the winery, the tasting room, a little bit of backstory for people who don't know. I'm Oregon's first black winemaker. Even that fact, I had to decide to own it. Initially I didn't want to be anybody's pioneer, or trailblazer, but I had to sit with myself and decide, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to do this 100% and work through that, all the way throughout, and the same thing with the documentary and on all of these things, are part of this whole mission that I'm on right now. So,
thank you. Yeah, I think and I always ask that question because part of my motivation is to get, I think there's one of diversity of thought is important to me.
Correct.
But also, the typical way people will respond to that in the macro society is a lot of times like, oh, well, I do this and I'm about to start or whatever. Yeah, which is not bad. It's cool. However, sometimes when we operate in community, we'll speak to, and when we feel safe or we feel like we're people we could trust with this information, we'll share, like, my kids or, how me and my relationship is going over here. Or I just had this big breakthrough in my work that I do that's changing the way I do things that's not necessarily related to a transaction or a return, but just actually the person that I am. So I always try to grab that. Hey, so we're here at the winery. As you informed me, the whole operation. Some of the where you started and motivation people can find on the website, which I'll share in the show notes.
Correct.
But one of the things I'm thinking, this is 10 years? This year,
correct. Well, 2018 is going to be officially 10 years. Yeah.
Wow. So, what have you learned?
Oh, man. I have my laughs, my cries, The biggest eye-opener I've learned is, again, about business. You can be personable or personal without it affecting, because everybody always talks about you you got to separate your business from your home life and this and that, et cetera. The customer's always right. I think that's the biggest lie industry has ever told us. Because when you live on that model business-wise, when you're thinking about the customer's always right, now your motivations are different. Again, for me, it's different because I own my own business as opposed to, you punch a clock. If your boss says, do X, Y, Z,
right.
do X, Y, Z. But as a independent business owner, my biggest freedom came from realizing that everyone was not going to be my customer. And I mean, I have a luxury product. So again, you would think, okay, it'd be even harder. So I would really need to kiss the customer's ass in order to make $1. I'm not here about making that $1 because I don't make money. I make money, I lose money. Yeah. So if I'm going to be a business owner putting my 1,000% into this, again, like I said, realizing that the customer isn't always right, everyone is not going to be my actual customer, that gave me freedom to do exactly what we do, how we do it, how it's best for Abbey Creek. Yeah. And then, guess what? Your customers will find you. We don't print advertise. 95% of my business is word of mouth. And yeah, you drove out here today. It seems like you're in another country almost. We're right outside of Hillsborough. I always joke North Plains is that quintessential Coors Light town. Yeah. There's a bar for every church and a church for every bar. But and a lot of people, why are you in North Plains? Why not? This is where I can make the most impact and the most difference. I was able to come out here and buy a 2,500 square foot building, that is, again, mine, right. In this place where people would think I couldn't be successful. Yeah. I bring over 300 people a month into this town who would have never, turned off the freeway, Indeed. And that gives me my street cred in the town itself. As for my value and worth. And then, if you're looking at the customer side of things, we're opening up people's minds and, to something different, a little unique, So that's definitely been my, biggest thing about business-wise.
Wow. Yeah, I always think about, I live, on the west side.
Correct.
And, so I've ridden my bike around here. Yeah. But the thing I always would tell my kids, especially when we're on road trips, in general around the perception of a rural area, right?
Correct.
And they were like, oh, well, it's like nature. And I was like, well, it's actually businesses. Those are all of those properties, not every single one, but a lot of those properties. If there's something growing,
correct. It's a farm.
If there's a house, like a warehousey looking building, there's probably some sort of industry going on in there, right? And that, to move your perception and to think. Because I think for our community, a lot of times, unless you're already in the agricultural-related work, some way, you don't look at spaces like this as opportunity for something.
Correct,
right?
Correct.
And so, there's something. What, was there a particular? I know on the site it speaks to when your father passed that you had the motivation to come into the business. Was there, something else within that kind of gave you the courage to jump out on this?
Again, background, growing up, my family's from Haiti.
Yeah.
I'm from Brooklyn. I grew up and was raised in Brooklyn. I call it, the immigrant hustle. My dad, when he left Haiti in the late 60s, early 70s, he had no high school degree, no diplomas, no nothing, but he knew he needed to be successful in spite of. Right. And that's to me that's mad courage. Yeah. He didn't like what he was doing at work or whatever, but he had a wife and 5 kids. Right. So he did what he had to do. Again, most people don't see that as courage, but that's the courage of stepping out and making a difference. Imagine leaving your life today and going to another country to start all over again, brand new. As a grown man. Yeah. To me that's crazy. I couldn't fathom that. Yeah. Personally myself. But again, going back to the whole, white folks called them boat people. Because they came over on the boats back in the day. Black Americans called him Uncle Tom because, who's this new island dude just grinding and working? And what was even crazy is his fellow Haitians, they even shunned him because in their eyes, he made it and wasn't giving back. So again, my dad had that courage of, this is what I'm going to do for myself and for my family without worrying about what anybody else thinks about it. My dad was doing yoga back in the 70s before it was cool. I mean, it was crazy. My dad's built like me. He was 6'1", 230, but he was a marathon runner. So he wore those little tiny shorts. And in the middle of the city, and in the suburb, he out there getting his little jog on. And again, it didn't matter. And kind of hindsight, later on, I realized my dad was a Freemason. And when you think about the teachings and the studies and things like that, again, it teaches you about just being you and being okay with that, the courage to step out and be different and be unique. So that's where fortunately for me, it was kind of bred into me. And I'm fortunate that I'm realizing that, and I take those chances. When I look back at my life, everything I've done was kind of a gamble. Some people may call reckless, but no, it's just kind of, I'm going to step out here off this ledge and see what's going on. And again, for the wine industry side, it was the passing of my father, but the whole idea about doing the wine was opportunity. My in-laws had about 5 acres of grapes that they planted over in the West Hills for a tax deferral, where most of our neighbors planted Christmas trees. But no one did anything with it. They didn't make wine. Every now and then, some of the fruit was sold. So the vineyard was kind of in disarray. But I was looking around one day, and I was like, I'm going to make wine. I didn't even drink. And you can imagine what everybody else said. Oh, okay, go ahead, go make some wine, whatever, yeah. But again, not knowing anything, it didn't stop me. It was the fact of opportunity, and I think that's another lesson we need to, try to teach our little ones and young ones and others. When there's an opportunity available, sometimes it's kind of like, or at least being aware of new opportunities, even though they're scary and, you got to jump out and do something else. But this is what's in front of you. Maybe take that, flip that. Again, I come from the streets, so, it's more of that hustle mentality. I was like, I got some grapes, worst I could do is make grape jelly,
Right, I got grapes already.
Exactly.
Right? So I'm halfway there.
Yeah, but the beauty about that is I wasn't passionate about wine.
Okay.
I was passionate about that hustle. Okay. There's a lot of broke, passionate winemakers out there because nothing in the wine industry is cost effective. The model itself makes 0 sense in the sense of what you do, how you do it. Okay. You're meant to be broke. Unless, you got investors and all of that other stuff. I mean, just from planting the vineyard, currently it's about $40,000 an acre to plant a vineyard. And you don't see any real viable fruit until year 5. And then that's still just young fruit in year 5. You can't ever make that money back up because every year you're still, taking care of the vineyard, cultivating, man hours, et cetera. So again, that model, hindsight, I mean, I've got 15 acres now. Hindsight, I wouldn't have planted one grape. Now I'm a farmer, and that's, again, farm life ain't creamy, man. No, it ain't. It's Mother Nature's in control. So all day you're trying to do this battle with what can I get and what Mother Nature's going to give me or allow me to have. But no, that's kind of where my courage came from. Again, it's first from the home the home life and the come up. So again, it's more of a pedigree built into me.
Indeed, I can resonate with that concept. That's and I'll add on with that offline. But me and my brothers, we share a dialogue, and we speak about each other and how we hold each other accountable and how we function. We speak about a pedigree.
Yes, sir.
And having a certain way that you approach the world. So, but that's some things you got to earn. So
correct.
You got to hear all that.
But then again, just hindsight, us with young ones and children. It's up to us to help instill that in them as well. It's just it's our responsibility for these little ones to make them the best human they're going to be and have the best chances. Especially, people don't like to talk about it, but people of color, it is true. Even that we do have to go out there, work a little harder, do a little different, even in this day and age. So I think, again, we still have to, it's up to us, it's our responsibility to instill that into the young people that come across into our lives, to give them better chances.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Cool. So You have a documentary.
Correct, yes. The documentary is called Red, White, and Black. We just released it. Released in the sense that we did the first screening for our sponsors the other day at the Oregon Historical Society. Yeah. But even that came upon me in 2015. Oregon, now I'm in the industry for 7 years. Oregon is celebrating, 50 years of winemaking, but everything they were talking about was about the past and the pioneers, and I totally respect and pay homage to, the pioneers, et cetera, but no one was talking about the future. Yeah. Again, that's another issue I have with the industry. Everyone gets stuck on this fabled story of how things began. Even customers, they'll come in and because they watch the NPR or whatever, and they heard the history and they want to keep, but nothing is talking about going out of the box, doing something new, being unique. Yeah. And that was me. And then all along that time, there was this culmination of customers coming into the winery and asking, who's the winemaker? And when I say it's me, the head turns sideways, like a dog that looking at you like, huh?
Like you,
yeah,
or a different you.
Exactly, and then, you get through that, and then, you don't have a vineyard, do you? Yeah, and again, the sideways tilted head. And,
wait a minute.
Yeah, so you must have went to UC Davis. No, I'm self-taught, So this whole question of why, and I ended up spending more time, almost defending my position. No, this is who I am, what I do, et cetera. And it's not so much that individually they were being malicious or mean, but that was the picture that the industry painted.
Right.
What is a winemaker supposed to look like? Right. Even my name is French. My family's from Haiti, so it's Bertony Faustin. But people would come in, Bertoni, and put this Italian spin, and then they'll be like, oh, you're not what I expected. Well, right. A, that's not my name. Yeah. And B, again, you expected a little Italian dude. No.
It's a Haitian brother.
Exactly. So I felt, what, I'm going to have to do something to change the narrative. And just like in 2007, I said, I'm going to make wine. I was like, I'm going to make a movie. I had no idea, no clue where to start, where to begin, but it didn't matter. I was like, I've got to do my own thing in order to, tell my story, because no one was going to tell it for me, kind of thing. But even that was more of a, the thought then was a passion project. Damn it, I'm going to make my own movie, because I can, right? But quickly, once the word started getting out, this was happening, Street Roots gave us the cover, and then it went to the AP, national, international, and then this crazy buzz, and, it turned into a movement, and people wanted that story. I'm getting emails from adults still to this day, national, all over the world, talking about, I heard your story and how is, I'm an engineer, but I've always been inspiring to do whatever. Right. Again, all of those industries that once upon a time they said we shouldn't do or we couldn't do, or even if it's ourselves telling ourselves we can't do that. Right. People are like, nah, I want to, I don't want to work as an engineer anymore. I want to, take that leap, have that courage to step out. And again, and that was that whole, wow, now I need to be this trailblazer, I'm this pioneer, and the thing about being the first of anything, I think most importantly is that we're not the last. So that's where all my work comes into, trying to give people opportunities or share, and show folks that we can do this and a million more other things as well. So that's kind of the beauty about the documentary. And even with that, yes, my story was important, but I felt it needed to be on a bigger stage, so I added more minorities in the sense of I've got the first Mexican winemaker, Jesus Guillen. I've got a woman who's a lesbian, Remy Drapkin. The thing about that, you come into my winery, I'm black all day. You saw it. You're going to get over it quickly. But imagine, the LGBTQ community, Remy, people would be like, does your husband make wine? How does she answer that? It's like, am I going to out myself every time somebody asks me that? So imagine that in internal grief that goes on. So things like that, I felt that, we need to go ahead and add. I'm all about the squad. as confident and in myself that I am, I'm always about trying to get this collabo. I think we're better together, all day, and having these different stories. And I feel that's kind of been part of the success of the documentary. I've created a whole new career over a 1-30-second trailer. The past 2 years, I've been a keynote speaker, so I travel nationally and share my story, and get paid for it. It's crazy, and
I believe we should get paid for our stories.
Exactly, but important. Crazy though, it's been in a 1-30-second trailer. Now the documentary is coming out this year or, next year. I'm trying to strap up and get ready for, what else is going to happen. I just got an email from Whitman College in Walla Walla. They want me to come out there and speak and show the documentary. So, hey, it's on now. I mean, that's starting the new year already, with another, taking this and going where it is. And on the artistic and creative side of things, we just submitted the film to Tribeca, the film festival. Right. So we'll know in March, if we got picked up for that. But no, the beauty, I mean, and even my director, Jerry Bell Jr., he actually was an Intel engineer, for over 16 years. Right. And even himself, he had that, I want to do something more. So he quit work, as an engineer. Right about the same time I was looking for, my director for the documentary. Okay, right. So that, again, that was the win-win, another brother going out on a limb, doing this, sort of career that he had this passion of. Yeah. And no, we all just, like I said, all boats rise on the same tide. Yeah. So we're all out here just taking these risks and doing us.
Yeah. I've always been an advocate that, one, you need a team. Nobody gets through this alone. The idea of, there's certain work you have to do on your own, about yourself. But if you want to do something and you want to make a move, you got to connect with people. You need to find a squad sometimes and working on something. I'm learning in my own endeavors also to be more open to ask people like, hey man, you interested in jumping in this idea I got with me? You know what I mean? Because and then you can start making some motion and making some activity. So that's beautiful, man. So I will, keep me posted on when. Of course. I always see you posting things when screenings and activity. I wanted to try to I couldn't do the Historical Society that night. I had work stuff. I got a lot of work stuff. But, anyway, but I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to seeing it, when I get a chance and other things. Well, we are at the point in the interview where my big questions I have for you are asked. Usually I go to movies, music, or art. I will say for folks that haven't been here, and hopefully, if you don't live in Oregon and you travel on a weekend when one of your events are happening, it's as a person of the hip hop age and generation, it's nice to come in and there's wine and people, and then it's hip hop playing. It's my music, that I grew up with and that I resonate with. Yeah. Playing in this other thing, I enjoy a nice glass of wine from time to time. It's beautiful. So I would say for some people it might be a culture shock, but to me it's like, finally, that's what I've been thinking the whole time.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Why not?
You know what I mean? It's been also, I guess, just as an anecdote, this year I've been at some different charitable events that weren't necessarily about us particularly, and people are playing all of the hip hop that when it was new didn't play on the radio, but everyone's like, oh yeah, they're like dancing.
Because it's urban now,
right? I'm like, hip hop, we won, we did it. You know what I'm saying?
It's that crossover, right?
Indeed. So, what would be? What do you listen to when you're making the magic back there with the wine?
It is funny because I always leave the music on. Yeah. I call it soul food, because wine is cellular, and I think all of that imparts on it. Always more of a 90s hip-hop kid all day. It's funny, I was just laughing because your name, Justice, I don't know if you remember 80s hip-hop, Just Ice. Yeah. I was like, oh, man, he got that cool ass name. and things like that, So, that's always going to be my era. I listen to new hip-hop as well, but you got, cats like Jay-Z that have been on this whole meteoric come up and rise, and you're seeing the change. From Jigga Wood to, the 444 is out more conscious, but you got your Kendrick Lamars and Chance the Rapper. I'm loving, just the evolution of hip hop. So you name it, And then I got my other side that, obviously I listen to Caribbean reggae and all of that, and good old jazz sometimes. It all is all about a mood and what I'm doing, and that's kind of the same way I look at wine. There's a mood and a time and a place for everything, and that's the beauty about music. It'll put you there, So.
Yes, sir. So, you want to give me a top 5?
Ooh, yeah. Let me give you a top 5. Definitely Biggie. We got to respect Biggie. Run DMC, just because I grew up on, Jamaica, Queens. Hollis Boulevard was right down the road. LL Cool J, for sure. Definitely, Tribe. Again, that was our era, Tribe Called Quest, all of the come up there, and then I'll throw a new head. I gotta say Kendrick, because Kendrick's latest album again, that's been my most recent, been feeling.
Yeah, I enjoy Kendrick, and I try to my system, because I just when I was younger and also when I was used to rap, I guess I had more of a very direct motivation to be listening to what other people were doing. But I've found it's hard for me to I know what's coming out and all that kind of stuff that I used to be able to do. So my system I do now is I just try to keep ears open, and if people who I trust share something and go like, yeah, this is nice, this is dope, I go, all right, I gotta go check that out. You know what I mean? And then I try to play catch up. And I generally, with the way technology works now, since we don't have to listen to you really don't have to watch or listen to anything you don't really want to listen to anymore.
Correct, that's it.
I try to be real selective, you know what I mean, and then try stuff, and that's my system, for new music.
Nice.
It goes up and down, you know what I mean. But word up. Well, before we close, I want to say thank you.
My pleasure, Jess. My pleasure for you coming out, bro.
I'm gonna let you know I'm probably gonna buy a couple bottles.
I got you.
Take home.
Yes, sir.
It's
the holidays.
And I mean, it's funny because at my house, I'm the only person that drinks alcohol at all, and I don't drink it in any frequency that it goes fast. So I have to have a system. I get one bottle, and if I drink that bottle, then I got to replace that one bottle.
Correct. Yeah,
so I got 8 in there. And if I have guests, somebody over that will share, because wife she don't like the taste of alcohol at all. So. But I like to have it and have it there. But my closing, also, I'll just say, is there anything you just want to close out for the good of the order, and then you want to share or say?
The main thing is let's just be good humans, man, and do you. I was at the most recent SCI gala that they had, and Alonzo Mourning, there was something he said that really just stuck to me. Is if everybody went out and the first thing in their mind was doing service or helping others, we'd be okay.
Yes, sir.
Because it would just be going on. Because if everything in your mind was to take care of somebody else, we'd be all right as a people, as a community, as a nation. So again, let's just be good humans out there, man. Yeah. The world is way too small, and life is extremely too short. For us to neglect that.
Indeed.
Neglect that fact. So, yeah, no.
All right. Well, you said it well. Bertony Faustin.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
My pleasure, Jess.
This has been the Ask Your Old Head podcast with Justice Raji. Peace.
Peace.